Hi everybody, welcome to my first YouTube video. Today I'll be doing this goth look and talking about Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, for my college project. I hope you guys enjoy. In 1797, a soon-to-be prodigy was born. Her name was Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin. Years later, she would marry and be known as Mary Shelley, the author of the famous book Frankenstein. Mary Shelley's literature became influential over time, but she had an extremely tragic life. This is her story. In London, 1797, Mary Shelley was born into a tragic beginning. A few days after giving birth to her, her mother had passed away from puerperal fever. This would be her first personal tragedy of many. Her father, William Godwin, was a political philosopher and novelist. William encouraged Mary to read from his library, where she became fluent in 4 different languages. Mary grew up in an intellectual environment where she received a home-based education. In this era, it was unusual for a girl to have such an extensive education. In 1812, when Mary was just 16, she was introduced to Percy Shelley. Percy was a 21-year-old poet who was already married. 2 years later, they were reintroduced and would spend time together at Mary's mother's grave. Mary Shelley was clearly a goth queen. They began to fall in love, and despite Percy's marriage, they would elope in France. Shortly after their elopement, Mary discovered she was pregnant. She returned to London, where her father, already being against the elopement, then disapproved of her pregnancy. She gave birth to a daughter, who woefully died weeks later. In 1816, after traveling back to London and losing their daughter, a grieving Mary and Percy moved to Italy. This year would become the year without summer due to the atmosphere. It rained endlessly most of the year, and they were stuck indoors. When Mary was 18 years old, one of Percy's friends challenged the group during a rainy day to a ghost story writing competition. One night, soon after the competition was announced, Mary had a nightmare about an engine bringing a dead man to life. When she woke up that morning, she created a story about a scientist who creates new life only to treat it as a monster and abandon it, which leads it to a life of rage. This nightmare would become the story of Frankenstein. The novel would be published in 1818 anonymously. Being in this era, many people assumed her husband Percy must have written it, since women were undermined in the 1800s. It wasn't until 1823 Mary Shelley would get credit for writing such an amazing novel. She is now widely known as the mother of science fiction. Her novel Frankenstein inspired many other works of art, such as Bram Stoker's Dracula and Edgar Allan Poe's work. Mary Shelley's tragedy continued through her whole life. Only being 22 years old, she had a total of 5 pregnancies, losing 4 of those children. Mary finally had a son who would survive to adulthood. They named him Percy after his father, and he lived till 70. Mary and Percy lived in Pisa with their son, finally leading a normal life. In 1822, Percy went on a trip with one of his friends where he would meet his fate. Percy was on a boat when a giant storm came their way. Percy refused help from a nearby ship and continued sailing through the storm. Days later, they found Percy's body on shore. He was cremated on the beach. This was a tragedy Mary Shelley would never recover from. Mary continued her literary work after 1822, which is how she continued to support herself and their son. After Percy Shelley's death, Mary wrote Valperga, The Last Man, The Fortunes of Perkin Warbeck, Lodore, and Falkner, which would be her final novel in 1837. Mary Shelley also dedicated herself to preserving Percy Shelley's work by publishing and editing his poems and prose. In 1851, Mary Shelley died of a brain tumor. After her death, her husband's calcified heart was discovered wrapped in his own poetry in her desk drawer. This is what I mean when I say she was a real goth queen, maybe even the original. There have been many adaptations of Frankenstein over the years, the most recent being Guillermo del Toro's adaptation of Frankenstein, which, if you haven't seen it, it is on Netflix, and it is an amazing film. So you should check it out if you haven't seen it. Mary Shelley's tragic life and genius literature led to the birth of science fiction, and she will forever be cemented in history. This is going to be the end of my assignment, so this video from now on will be like a get ready with me fashion video. Professor, if you don't want to see this, you can click out. I'm done. This was it. I hope you enjoyed. But if you're here to just watch on my public channel, or maybe you are totally into fashion, you can stick around. So I bought these conforming bandages off of Amazon, and I'm going to wrap my arms in them. Kind of like, if I can get a photo right here, I'll put it here, but if not. But I want to look like the Bride of Frankenstein with the wraps around her arms, so. Aren't they so cute? They look like marshmallows. Anyways. These kind of look like I have like a nice gown on. Just kidding. Out of all the boots in my closet, I think I'm gonna have to go with my good old Demonias. Every time I put these on, I'm like fighting for my life to get them zipped without clipping my skin. I did it. Anyways, thank you for everybody who stuck around for the whole video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned a few facts even. I don't know if I'll make more YouTube videos unless it's like an assignment, unless this gets really good views and you guys are like, wait, I want to see more, then I might. But yeah, thank you for watching.